I was fighting legal battles on every front. I was fighting legal battles over my house in Ireland. I was fighting legal battles with the brewery. I hadn't got the money in the pub to pay all the legal fees. So what I felt that was being done to me was a crime. An opportunity came up for me to get involved in criminal activity, in stolen cars. And I was very vulnerable at the time because things were going seriously out of control financially. So I took up the opportunity to get involved in stolen cars. We were captured. I ended up originally getting 2.5 years in prison. But while I was in prison, the Crown prosecution appealed and said that 2.5 years was too lenient, and they tried to increase it to 7. They did increase it to 4, which was a little bit of a kick into the teeth because I'd never been in trouble before.
How did you cope with prison?
Yeah, I coped okay. It was more difficult on my mum and dad and my fiancée Ruth. When we were kids, I remember coming in from school one day and my mum saying to us, "Get up to bed, get up to bed, get up to bed." It was only like 4:30 in the day. So I knew there was something wrong. So me and my brother sat at the top of the stairs and my dad came in from work, and I remember my mum and dad talking, and I remember my dad just breaking down crying, and it was frightening, to tell you the truth, to watch my dad cry. And it turned out that his daddy had died. We were too young to understand what was going on. And that was the only time, up until the time I was sent to prison, that I saw my dad cry. And I was in the courts and I was found guilty. And I looked up before we were remanded and I saw Ruth looking down and my dad looking down, my dad crying. I felt sick. Not because I was being sent to prison, but because I'd made my dad cry. It hurt me an awful lot. I walked down the stairs to the cells down below the courts, and I felt as sick as a man could feel. That's it.
During the time that you were in prison, of course, Ruth helped run everything when you were away.
Very proud of Ruth, you know, she stood by me. You know, she had a lot to endure. Like my prison sentence, I was getting looked after while I was in prison. 3 meals a day given to you. Ruth had to go out and earn her 3 meals a day. So it was harder for Ruth than what it was for me. And I admire her for being able to cope. We had a pub at the time called the Moseley Arms. She took a redundancy from the Halifax to run the pub. And she'd done very, very well. She made me very proud.
Because I had a lot of stress because I had a breakup in a bad relationship. My ex, she cleared off with that Michael Flatley, and she tried to take my house. I was very sick at the time. Anyway, Ruth endured that. Then I had, you know, problems with landlords, breweries, and I was fighting court battles and facing eviction and everything else, and she endured that. Then I got into trouble with the police, and I got sent to prison. And she's endured that. She has had to endure an awful lot. But now, things are absolutely fantastic. You know, the book is doing ever so well. And, you know, things are really good. It's going to be long.
I'll tell you something now. Without that woman, you'd be 15 stone.
When I came out of prison, I started doing a few bits and pieces around the pub, trying to make ends meet. But the pub wasn't busy enough, so I had to get a job and I didn't know what to do. So I made a comeback into boxing. I contacted Tyson. I asked him, would I be able to fight on his undercard? I wasn't good enough to spar with him. He was making a comeback himself. He said, yeah, no problem, Joe, he'd help me in any way. I thought I'd have a comeback fight before I'd boxed on Tyson's undercard to see if I had anything left in the tank. I'd been out of the ring for 12 years and I didn't want to go to America, be on Tyson's undercard and embarrass myself. If I'd nothing left, I was going to have to find out before I went to the States. So I thought, well, I'll box in Ireland because you get the true opinion in Ireland. If you're rubbish and you got nothing left, the Irish won't hold back. They'll tell you, what are you doing? You're making a show of yourself. Pack it in, you've got nothing left. So I thought, well, I'll chance it at home. So I boxed a guy called Mark Williams, who was a friend of mine. He'd been in our action for 2.5 years. I've been in our action for 12 years. So the two of us were on the comeback trail. It was a good fight. I won the fight in the 5th round. I pushed him into the corner, and as I pushed him to try and corner him in the corner, his shoulder came out and the fight was stopped. It was a good fight up until that point, and it was a very close fight. But I got the decision because he had to retire, and a win's a win. So I asked different people that were in attendance, how did I look? Brendan Ingle, who trained a lot of champions of the world, he said I looked okay. So I contacted Tyson. I said, yeah, I had a good win, felt good, glad to be back at it. Let's get it on now, and you're on the card. And I was all excited. Back into the gym a couple of weeks later to train, and sparred with an old friend of mine, Steve Dawson. Ducked into an uppercut, split me wide open, and I knew then that was it.
What was it like feeling that was really the end of the boxing career?
It was sad, but it was a nice way to bow out, you know. I'd rather bow out from punches than to bow out from a car accident. You know, fighters want to go out in a blaze of glory, you know. If you're going to go out fighting.